Hey everybody, Dave Palet, week 3 in Major League Baseball. Let's see where we stand. As we've told you before, it's a 60-game sprint, so we're going to break things down every single week. We'll give you an idea of where your team stands and where they rank in the top 30. Also, I'll let you know right now, if the playoffs began, who do I think is a playoff team? You have 8 teams on both sides, National League and American League. I'll tell you exactly which teams I think have a chance of making it to the postseason, and then figure out which teams are going to make a run, as long as tell you about who I think has a possibility of making trades. I will give you a hint right now. There's a new number 1 this week in week 3 on how we break things down. We'll start off, first of all, we'll talk about the teams that don't have a chance. Pirates, one of the worst teams in baseball. They're exactly what we thought they would be. They stink. Red Sox, completely pitiful. Red Sox right now would be better off if they could trade some of those names on those contracts. For example, JD Martinez would help a contender big time as a DH, but the Red Sox right now have a big time DH making a lot of money and no reason at all to keep him on the team. You have the Mariners, not worth talking about. The Royals, fun to watch. They stink. You have the Toronto Blue Jays, young team, playing games in Buffalo. It's crazy how the ball's flying out of there. The Blue Jays are fun to watch, but way too young to consider an actual contender. You have the St. Louis Cardinals. To me, one of the more interesting teams in the league. I thought when the season started, they'd be a top 10 team. Right now, they have played 5 games, and it is August 14th. Remember, the season started on July 23rd. This is how this is going to work out. St. Louis Cardinals have to make up these games. How many doubleheaders are they going to play? Where are they going to find the pitching? Not only that, what happens to the teams that they have to face? The teams they have to face have to use their pitching as well to make up games with the Cardinals. For the Cardinals, it could be a long 60-game stretch as they try and get these games in. And Major League Baseball is going to do everything they can to get these games in. No way can you consider the St. Louis Cardinals a team to contend in a 60-game season with what they're going to have to do. San Francisco Giants coming in at number 24. Gabe Kapler, as manager, has done a great job with this team. I know a lot of people laughed at it when they signed Gabe Kapler to be the manager to replace Hall of Famer Bruce Bochy. But right now, you look at Gabe Kapler, his team competes. Not only do they compete, they have 2 of the best players in baseball on that roster. Mike Yastrzemski has been fun to watch, comes with clutch hits, plays all 3 outfield spots. And then at second base, Donovan Solano, the guy right now is contending for a batting title, could hit over 400. Can you imagine that? A guy that most people have never heard about could hit over 400, become the first guy since Ted Williams did it. I know people say it's a shortened season, but 400 is 400. And you don't see other guys doing it outside of Charlie Blackmon who look like they have a chance to maybe run the table with this. Milwaukee Brewers at 23. We talked about this last week. The Brewers are missing too much. The Brewers are one of those teams that you like to say is a middle of the pack kind of team. But right now I say they're at 23. And they've been kind of disappointing in 2020. Of course, a lot of that had to do with Christian Yelich. Cincinnati Reds at 22. The Reds, I thought offense was going to be the thing to watch. Plus with some of the pitching they had at the top of the rotation. For the Reds, right now at 8-11, have been a disappointment. They've been outscored by 13 runs in 19 games, and the offense hasn't been good. Nicholas Castellanos right now leads the team, and he's only hitting .268 on the season. So right now, the pitching has been a disappointment outside of Sonny Gray and Trevor Bauer. And for the Reds, you could see them making a change if things continue to go this way, where manager David Bell, he is out by the end of the year. Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks at 21 right now have been at the bottom of the NL West basically the entire time in the last 3 weeks, fighting kind of with the San Francisco Giants for the worst team in the National League West. But I tell you what, the Diamondbacks are starting to play a little bit scary. They're starting to hit the ball a little bit. I understand they're coming out of a series against the Rockies. Big series this weekend coming up against the Padres. The big thing about the Diamondbacks is they had one Marte who was doing a good job. That was Cattell. Right now, Starlin Marte is doing what they thought he was going to do. Remember this about Starling. Not only did he come over as a player that is in a new city, he's going through the COVID, he's going through everything we're all going through, but he also lost his wife less than 2 months ago. So it's hard to focus on baseball when all of a sudden you lose your spouse. So he's starting to turn things around. I think most people understand that it's a tough time for him. You kind of root for a guy that has so many battles to fight, and baseball is probably the least of his concerns. Texas Rangers, big surprise right now at 20. They're 8-9, not good enough to win in 2020. They will be a team that will trade at the deadline. Look for them to make a move, possibly ship a shortstop out. Maybe Joey Gallo goes, Lance Lynn. The Rangers have some talent that other teams are going to want, but the Rangers right now are a surprising team as they're 8-9 through the first 17 games. Detroit Tigers. You can make an argument that the Tigers right now coming at number 19 are the surprise of baseball. Hardly anybody who's even a big-time baseball fan can name 3 players on the Tigers, but the Tigers have been playing well. They're a surprise team right now. Sad news for Detroit fans. It won't last. Sorry, Dan Williams. Baltimore Orioles, 10-7. Another team just like the Tigers. Who would have thought the Baltimore Orioles would be a team that nobody wants to face? Guess what? They battle every single night. The Orioles are playing great baseball, and they're a fun team to watch. Not a lot of star power, but if you like baseball and you like guys that give 100% every single day, that's exactly what the Baltimore Orioles are doing. The Miami Marlins coming in at 8-4. We told you last week, Don Mattingly, the winningest manager in franchise history. Pretty surprising. Not a lot of players on that Marlins team that you're going to say, I know their name, but at the same time, when Derek Jeter started shipping guys out, and you're going, what are you doing? It looks like the franchise is going to be doomed for 10 years. The Marlins are turning things around very quickly, and I think if there's one franchise that has benefited the most of playing a 60-game season, it's going to be the Marlins, and the Marlins right now 8-4. Pretty exciting to see what's happening. Washington Nationals defending champions. We all know about the pitching. We all know about Scherzer and Strasburg. Well, they get Juan Soto back. Juan Soto looks like he hasn't missed a beat. Some of the home runs he is hitting are insane. The one he hit at Citi Field this week was unbelievable. Reminded me a lot of the Barry Bonds home run that he hit in the 2002 World Series against the Angels. And right now for the Nationals, they're a team that has talent in the pitching rotation, but not enough offense to put around Soto to consider them a real contender to win the World Series. New York Mets, they're one of those teams where you look at the Mets and you say, how can this team not be winning? Well, they have so much turmoil. You could start it right at the top. We don't even know who the next owner is going to be for the Mets. So many different ownership groups of people stepping in and stepping out on who wants to buy that franchise, who's going to own the franchise. We all know about Noah Syndergaard's not with the team this year. Jake DeGrom was supposed to pitch today. His neck stiffness. How long will that last? For the Mets, it always seems like it's something. Giannis Cespedes all of a sudden decides he's opting out. It's always something with the Mets over and over again. It's a franchise that you don't want to say is jinxed, but at the same time, they cannot get out of their own way. The Angels, I have them coming in at 14. And for the Angels, you think offense. You think Mike Trout, best player in the game. Mike Trout's outstanding. Anthony Rendon, who obviously wasn't with the team at the very beginning, but his bat's starting to come alive. He's starting to look like the Anthony Rendon we saw with the Nationals. Pujols is a shell of himself. At the same time, you have Fletcher, you have Goodwin, you have some guys in that offense that you like to watch. Ohtani is always dangerous with the bat, but the pitching isn't enough for the Angels. When I mentioned some of the guys that could be making trades, don't be surprised if the Angels, if they think they have a chance of making the postseason, that they're one of those teams that steps up and finds some pitching, hopefully a frontline starter. A guy like Lance Lynn would be great, but I doubt the Rangers would trade inside their division. Chicago White Sox coming in at 13. The White Sox are a team playing above 500. Pitching isn't very good right now, but again, you look at a White Sox team that's very, very young and a team that many people have to deal with in years to come, a lineup you will not want to have to pitch to. Moving on to the Houston Astros, they're at 12, and the reason I have the Astros at 12 is the Astros are the Astros. We all hate their guts. We all know they're cheaters. We all know they have guys with big mouths that start fights, and basically it seems like they get away with murder. But the Houston Astros are a team that is always dangerous, and at the same time, guys like Bregman and Altuve will come around and they'll start hitting. The Astros are the only team in baseball to win more than 100 games over the last 3 years in a row. So the Astros are always dangerous. That's why I have them all the way at number 12, even though they aren't playing like the 12th best team. Philadelphia Phillies, a team that's loaded with talent as well. As we mentioned before, they've added pitching. The Phillies haven't played up to their ability. We're waiting for them to become the team that everybody thinks they can be, but I still like the Phillies and still think they're going to be dangerous come the postseason. Atlanta Braves at 11-9. That offense is scary as can be. Right now, second in the National League as far as run differential, and the Braves are a team you worry about. Could the Braves be one of those teams that make us a trade for a pitcher? They're going to need it with Mike Soroka being gone for the season. San Diego Padres coming in at number 9. Now for the Padres, they had a big series against the Dodgers this week. They went to LA. They won the first 2 games of a 4-game series. Padre fans extremely excited. And for the Padres, they should be excited. They played very, very well. A team that doesn't give up, a team that hustles, that works really hard, that takes the extra base, that steals bases, that does everything you want from a team that you follow because they're exciting to watch and they're going to give a best effort. But the way those last 2 games went at Dodger Stadium made you feel like you lost the series instead of split the series. The last game where they gave up 3 home runs to Mookie Betts, extremely disappointing, especially knowing that was your ace in Chris Paddock. I think most people that watch the Padres on a regular basis will tell you Paddock probably isn't the ace of that staff. Right now, Lamet has been outstanding. Guy's almost thrown 2 no-hitters in back-to-back games and has been great. Throws 100 miles an hour. He's just extremely dangerous. Every ball continues to move more and more. For me, watching the Padres a lot, I think the Padres with Chris Paddock, I think he's outstanding, and I think he's always going to be outstanding, but he's almost too consistent around the strike zone. If I was the Padres, honestly, I would talk to Chris Paddock kind of about the being effectively wild, brush guys back, get them to move their feet in the batter's box, try and spread the plate a little bit more. But right now, Chris Paddock looked doomed against the Dodgers, and he's had a history of struggling not only against the Dodgers, but some of the better teams in baseball. I think he's an outstanding player. Don't know if he's going to be the ace of the team, but right now you have a guy like Lamet who's great. I'd like to see the Padres be a team that makes a deal for a trade. Speaking of trades, the team that I think right now could be shipping some guys out, that's the Cleveland Indians. The Cleveland Indians come in at number 8, and very good team. They haven't hit the ball the way they normally hit the ball. That will probably come around. Their bats should come around. The Indians are known as the team in baseball that has followed coronavirus guidelines better than any team in the league, and they've taken it extremely seriously. That's why it was surprising that they had problems with Zach Plesac, who went out in Chicago and celebrated with some friends, and then all of a sudden he got questioned on how did you break protocol. Well, Mike Clevenger came to his defense. Then it came out that Mike Clevenger was with him as well. He broke protocol. So right now, Clevenger lied about his whereabouts. The franchise extremely disappointed in him. He's coming to the end of a contract. Don't be surprised if the Indians decide to trade Clevenger. And Clevenger is a guy that could help a lot of teams. One of the better pitchers in baseball. If you recall, the Dodgers were trying to get him during the offseason, but he's a guy that could help out a lot of teams. He could help out teams like the Angels, and he could help out the Braves, and he could even help out a team like the San Diego Padres. Coming in at number 7, the Rockies, a team that I said from week 1, you don't know what you're going to get from the Rockies, because just 2 years ago, they almost won the division, but then last year, they contended for a last-place team in the National League West the entire year. Which team are the Rockies? How would the pitching hold up? Right now, the Rockies have been in first place since day 1 in the National League West, and they haven't let go. The Rockies have been playing extremely well. They have guys on that offensive side that everybody knows about that are dangerous. Charlie Blackmon hitting .500 earlier this week has been great. Daniel Murphy has had a great bat. Arenado's getting hot. Story's hot. You can go on and on with the Rockies. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. Year after year, players disappear and players come in, wear that Rockies uniform, and they hit the tar out of the ball. But for the Rockies, they've been a dangerous team, and the pitching right now has been outstanding for them. That's why they come in at number 7. A team I've had at number 2 since we started is the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees fall all the way to number 6, and that's because the Yankees have been battling injuries, and injuries continue to get worse. We all know about Giancarlo Stanton. Never seen a DH get hurt as much as a guy like Stanton. Very frustrating. Makes a ton of money. It looked like the Yankees completely robbed the Marlins when they were able to pull off that trade to get Stanton. Big mistake for the Yankees. They kind of don't need him. I don't think at the time they knew what they were going to get in Aaron Judge. But as good as Aaron Judge is, and he's one of the top players in the game, all of a sudden he's hurt again. Big body, big player, and he gets hurt way too often. So for the Yankees, you lose 2 big bats right there in both Stanton and Judge. I'll say it again, the Yankees need more help in the starting rotation. Garrett Cole right now is the only guy you can depend on a regular basis, but the Yankees have too much money, too much talent to let this season go. Don't be surprised to see the Yankees be one of those teams that steps up to get that frontline starter. Minnesota Twins, love watching the Twins. If you're one of those guys like me that watches a ton of baseball, I go out of my way to watch as many Twin games as I can. You like the long ball. You want to see guys with the ability to hit home runs, and this team hits a ton of them. Has been doing it for a few years. I think the big difference for the Twins, though, this year compared to last year's team is one is you got Kenta Maeda, who has been at the Dodgers for a number of years, but Maeda has a bunch of stuff that the American League hasn't seen. He's a guy that can start and has done a great job. He also, in the postseason, can go in relief. But I think the big key for the Twins is you got to get Rich Hill back healthy. Solid lefty that changes speeds. He's different than most guys you see in Major League Baseball that throw 96 to 99 miles an hour. He's a guy that paints corners, changes speeds dramatically, and has a big giant body, so it's deceptive as far as what he's going to deliver to you. Oakland A's. I love this A's team. I've loved this team since the offseason. When you look at the A's, and I mentioned this before, that you can go through every position, and they have a player on their team in the top 10 at every single position on the diamond. A's are extremely dangerous. It's always fun to kind of watch the A's. Ever since that movie Moneyball came out, will it ever work for Billy Beane? The A's kind of don't exactly play like the book used to say for Moneyball, but at the same time, the A's are still the A's, and everybody knows they don't have a lot of money. Just an exciting team to watch year in and year out. Right now, I have them coming in at number 4. Down to the top 3 teams in baseball. Number 1 American League team out there for me right now is the Tampa Bay Rays. And the Rays have the pitching to win. The Rays now have the offense to win. If you look at the Rays, their bats are getting hot. The Rays are scoring a ton of runs. A great week for the for the Rays. And for the Rays, you look at a guy like Hunter Renfroe, who came over in the Tommy Pham trade. Right now, with Hunter Renfroe doing well and Tommy Pham struggling in San Diego, it looks like the Rays, so far 3 weeks in, have won that trade. Looking pretty good for what the Rays have when they prove that they can beat teams like the Yankees and they beat the crap out of the Red Sox at Fenway. You like what the Rays have. There's not a team in the American League, I think, that wants to face the Rays. Last 2 teams, this is where things change up a little bit. The Dodgers, I still have them at number 2 right now in the National League. And the reason I have the Dodgers at number 2 is they haven't lost a series. They also lead baseball in run differential at plus 51 runs. The Dodgers are first in the National League in runs, home runs, slugging percentage. The weak spot for the Dodgers right now, believe it or not, is 2019 MVP Cody Bellinger. Bellinger is a shadow of himself. It's very frustrating watching him night in and night out, whereas he's nowhere close. 165 he's hitting. The other one is an all-star, Max Muncy, who Max Muncy right now is hitting 169. Bellinger is a guy that is extremely quick. You see the shift, and you wonder, man, why don't you just lay a couple down? Because I can't figure this out in baseball. I know there's a chance of a home run, but why is it okay to get a base hit through the shift, but not okay to bunt against the shift? If the more you bunt, the more they're going to start playing you straight up, and the more of a chance you have getting on base to drive runs in later on when they start playing you straight up. Dodgers go to number 2. So who's the new number 1 in baseball this week? Without a doubt, it's the Chicago Cubs. The Chicago Cubs have surprised me, played much better than I expected. Look at the pitching they're getting right now at the top. John Lester, 1.06 ERA. Yu Darvish, 1.88 ERA. Kyle Hendricks, 3.08 ERA. The Cubs have been playing great. The problem with the Cubs right now, the bats are a little bit quiet. You expect them to heat up. Rizzo at 222, Schwarber 231, Bryant 196, Javi Baez 231. Those are big bats that the Cubs depend on, but David Ross and the Cubs are going in the right direction, and right now they come in at number 1. So who makes the postseason? Right now, who do I think is a postseason team? We'll go American League first. We have the Rays, A's, Twins, Yankees, Indians, Astros, White Sox, and just because there are 8 teams this year, we're going with the Angels. Those are the top 8 teams in the American League. In the National League, we're going to go Dodgers, Cubs, Rockies, Padres, Braves, Phillies, Mets, and Reds. So very exciting. If you're watching this and we're talking baseball and you live in California, guess what? There's only one California team that I don't have in the postseason, and that's the Giants. But otherwise, very exciting time in Southern California. As a baseball fan, as you have Mookie Betts in LA and Cody Bellinger, the reigning MVP. You go down the freeway from the north and you have Mike Trout. And then in San Diego, you have Fernando Tatis Jr., right now the most exciting player in all of baseball. So there you have it right there. This week in baseball, as we tell you what I think is going to happen, I think right now those are the top 16 teams, as I told you who I think will make the postseason. Injuries happen and trades happen. The trade deadline comes at the end of the month, and then we'll see exactly who lines up and who's made the most moves to change things around. If you haven't pushed the subscribe button on YouTube, please do it. We appreciate it. Again, it's JP25 Media, and that's the direction we're going right now with a numerous amount of shows. Check out some of the other shows that we have as we talk sports. We have dating shows, we have dating tips, even have a cooking show coming. So please pay attention to JP25 Media. Again, as we talk JP25, it's all for my younger son Jake, who passed away a year and a half ago. We're trying to do good things in Jake's name, jakesprojects.org. We want to point out that it's a nonprofit, jakesprojects.org, and what it does is it raises money for kids who don't have the opportunity to afford to play sports. Baseball's just one of them, but it also goes for soccer and softball and every sport you can think of, and maybe even helping out some of these college athletes who are good enough players to get scholarships but don't have the money to continue their education. So we want to help people out trying to do a good thing with this nonprofit. So if you get a chance, go to jakesprojects.org and make a donation. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week.